Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham. We are live at Radio Row here at the NFL Combine as defensive linemen spoke to the media earlier today. For those wondering, quarterbacks will be on Friday, but a lot of them did arrive today and are starting to meet with teams. More on that a little bit later on. Speaking of the Bears' current quarterback, Justin Fields, a lot of chatter over the last 24 hours about a potential trade to the Atlanta Falcons. There was a recent report out there on that, which we'll discuss momentarily. Plus, I thought some interesting comments from Falcons head coach Raheem Morris as they're evaluating their quarterback options. So we'll dive into all that here. Here's the report from NBC Sports Chicago. Josh Schrock getting the scoop here, saying a league source told NBC Sports Chicago that the Falcons have checked in with the Bears about Fields. It's unclear how far those conversations went, but there's reason to expect them to pick back up this week in Indianapolis. And I got to be honest, I think Atlanta makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. I've said it for a few weeks now. If the Bears do end up trading Fields, I think Pittsburgh and Atlanta are the clear top two teams for a variety of reasons. But you think about Atlanta in particular. He grew up in the greater Atlanta area down in the state of Georgia. He grew up going to games watching Michael Vick play, who, by the way, he plays quite a lot similar to in terms of play style at the quarterback position. The obvious one, the Falcons need a quarterback, and the division in the NFC South is very winnable. And I've said this too. I think if the Falcons had Justin Fields as their quarterback this year, he would have led them to the playoffs. That's how bad the Falcons QB play was, and I think that's how much of an upgrade Fields would be over Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, etc. And I also want to ask you this. Does Raheem Morris want Justin Fields? Well, he had some interesting comments yesterday talking about the Falcons QB situation and their search for a gunslinger. And I don't know, kind of made me think JF1 is the guy that they're looking at. Here's what Morris had to say on that topic. He said, you want to go get the best fit for your people. You want to get the best fit for your coaches. You want to go get the best fit for our city, and you want to do all of those things. There's nothing ruled out. I forgot to mention trades because all of those things come into play. People are going to read into these words or whatever. There are people that are from Atlanta. There are people from around Atlanta. You can name the mileage of how close some of those people are. You got to do what's best and what's right in front of your team at the right time. Doesn't that sound like Fields? Can't you just envision Justin Fields playing indoors at the Mercedes-Benz Dome, whatever they're calling that stadium these days, just like Michael Vick used to run around in Atlanta, launching deep balls, scrambling, fits the city. It just makes sense. Now, if you want to question, well, is he an ideal fit for Zach Robinson, a Sean McVay disciple? I would hope that a Sean McVay disciple can adjust to a skill set of Justin Fields. If he can't do that, like Luke Getsy couldn't do, consistently enough, well, that's a Zach Robinson and Atlanta problem. Like, if you're the Falcons, what are your options? You're picking at number 8. Are you going to trade up into the top 3? You might be able to, but A, you got to find a trade partner, and B, you're going to have to give up a haul, or you could trade for Justin Fields, which is a quarterback that I think we all think is at least somewhat attainable, if not very attainable, from the Bears standpoint of things at this point in time. So coming up, I got a couple of Justin Fields to the Falcons trade ideas that I put together that I think are worth discussing on today's show. And then I also want to mention this from Raheem Morris. I almost forgot this. He literally said this yesterday, which is a direct indictment on Taylor Heineke and Desmond Ridder. He literally said, I wouldn't be here if our QB play was better. Yeah, our QBs suck. We need to go get one. That's what he's basically saying. Justin Fields, he is someone that's available and would be a clear upgrade. You also look at the next team odds, which I always say, hey, pause, don't overreact to player odds on where they're going to play next. Falcons are major favorites right now, though. Minus 225, Bears at plus 240. You got the Steelers at plus 340 and on down the list. So for the reasons I already mentioned, I do think Atlanta makes some sense, and it does sound like there could be some momentum there as well. So now, coming up, we'll get into some Justin Fields trade ideas. A couple that I cooked up. I had one, and then I added a second one. So we'll dive into that here in just a moment. But first, our sponsor for today's show is Prize Picks, guys. You got to get in on the best daily fantasy sports app out there, and that is Prize Picks, the largest one in North America. Football season may be over, but basketball is well underway. You got the tournament push in college hoops, conference tournaments just a few weeks away, and then in March Madness. In the NBA, you got teams positioning for playoffs as well. And listen, there is money out there. You can now make up to 100 times your entry with your basketball picks with Prize Picks. Now, I kept it simple today. 2-player entry, 10 to win 30. I think the Mavs and Luka are going to be pissed off after that just wild finish against Cleveland yesterday. Give me the more on Luka's points today. And then the Bulls just did not show last night. Kobe White hasn't been playing his best recently. I'll go less on his points. 10 to win 30 there, 20 to win 60, 3 extra money. But again, you can get up to 100 times your entry if you go to a full 6-player entry and use some of those demon picks as well, which kind of make the stats harder to achieve. But if you hit, you really do cash out. Get going with Prize Picks, prizepicks.com/CLNS. That code CLNS will get you a deposit match up to $100 when you sign up today. Today is the day. Don't miss out. Link is in the comments and in the description of this video. All right, trade idea number 1, which I've got it right over here. I like the idea of a pick swap in the first round. Bears go from 9 to 8, so they move up a slot. You get Atlanta's second-round pick, number 43 overall, and then a 2025 fourth-round pick. Now, you might be saying, that's not a ton. You only get one premium pick this year. Yeah, but you're moving up a slot in the first round, which is not nothing. And again, it's unclear how many teams are going to be bidding. So I like the idea of moving up a pick. Like, that could be the difference potentially if you're the Chicago Bears in getting one of the top 3 receivers. You might need to get up even just one spot to secure Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze, who are both excellent talents, as we've talked about on this channel when you look at their production over the past couple of years. Rome Odunze at Washington, Malik Neighbors at LSU, both fantastic. We'll hear from both of those players on Friday, by the way. We'll have some clips from that as well. We'll get to see if they've talked to the Bears. I bet both players do this week in Indianapolis, so stay tuned for that. So if you can get up a spot, ideally, a couple spots, depending if there's any other trades out there, to get one of those guys to help this offense out, that would be huge. And then a second trade idea I had here, more traditional here. You get a 2 and a 4 this year, and then a fourth next year. I think moving up a slot in the first round is probably worth about a 4th-round pick. So that is what I replace that pick swap here in this second trade with the Atlanta Falcons. But I think any trade for Fields is probably starting with the 2nd-round pick. We'll see beyond that. And we'll see if the Atlanta Falcons are as interested as it appears they might end up being. All right, we're going to be here all week long. Don't miss out. Subscribe. Bears content here in Indianapolis at the NFL Combine. We'll hear from more players tomorrow. We'll hear kind of leaks, rumors. This is the time of year, man. This is why you subscribe right now, because we got our boots on the ground this year in Indianapolis, and you're always hearing chatter about what teams are going to do, including the Bears. I mean, they're the topic here with the number 1 pick and a lot of cap space in free agency. So don't miss out. Subscribe. We got you covered. And by the way, thank you for 88,000 subs. Let's get to 89K as soon as possible. All right, let's get to some Combine news and notes today. We'll talk about those defensive linemen here in just a moment as they met with the media earlier this morning. But do want to kind of re-hit some of the Caleb Williams stuff. First of all, if you missed the video earlier, go back and check it out after this one. He said he would be excited if the Bears drafted him. So that's a very good thing for people worried that he might pull an Eli Manning. He's also set to make his formal visit with the Bears tonight. Ian Rappaport and others reporting that most of his formal visits at the Combine will take place tonight. So you've got that going on. Also, the Bears have already reportedly met with LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels, who, of course, is one of the top QB prospects in this class as well. I would assume Drake Maye, a visit there is going to take place, whether it's yesterday, today, tomorrow. Most of the quarterbacks are arriving today, so be on the lookout for official word on that as we go along at HGramNFL on Twitter. As news comes in, I'm posting it there initially also, so don't miss out on that. Did also want to touch on the defensive lineman that the Bears have formally visited with, per them, as we asked them questions earlier today. Latu, the edge out of UCLA, Jared Verse, the Florida State edge, defensive lineman Darius Robinson out of Mizzou, Chop Robinson out of Penn State, and then defensive tackle Mason Smith out of LSU. Latu, Verse, and Robinson, not Robinson as much, Latu, Verse, and Dallas Turner, who I couldn't confirm if he had a formal with the Bears, but he did talk about them. I put a short up on Dallas Turner, so be on the lookout for that. But versus Latu Turner could be in the range for that number 9 overall pick. Mason Smith, interesting player, had an interesting college career, number 1 rated recruit in his state, had some injuries, some questions at times. He got suspended for a game at one point in time. I got about a minute with him earlier today, so check out what he had to say about the Chicago Bears.
So have you had a formal with the Bears?
Yes, sir.
Did you do putt-putt or darts?
Putt-putt.
Any reason why?
I like golf more than darts.
Okay. What's your best round of golf that you've played?
I'm not 100% sure. I never really documented anything really.
Okay.
But I feel like I could play a little bit.
What stood out talking to Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles, whoever else was in there?
Really just how they tried to see my intelligence. I like when people take a different aspect of the game and try to tack it onto a player. So I had to do more work. The film that they were showing me, the things that they were showing me, it was a lot of hustle plays, things of that nature. And I like the defense. I feel like they got a lot of good things going on. They're a very young team, and I would be letting them be a part of it.
Are you familiar with Trevon Dexter playing in the SEC and obviously Montez Sweat?
Yes, sir.
What do you think you could add to that group if they select you?
I think both of those guys are tremendous players, and I think I could add a different dynamic to it.
Appreciate Mason for indulging a few of my questions. But listen, the talent's always been there with him. The production has been inconsistent at LSU. He's had some injuries for a variety of reasons. His college career didn't go as many expected. Again, former 5-star recruit coming out of high school. But middle round dart perhaps for a guy like this, it's intriguing. I think he's going to have measurables that intrigues Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus. So we'll see how he tests this week, but could be a potential sleeper for this team if they look to add another piece on that interior part of that defensive line. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Subscribe here on YouTube. You can also keep up with everything else going on around the Bears this week by following me on socials at HGramNFL, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll see you guys soon. Bear down.